Warm greetings. Welcome back. So we're going to start today with a drill for reflection before we continue. Welcome back. This amazing authority of this positioning. Yesterday's homework was to experience the noble and divine royal truth of the soul with this energy of fun, hobby energy. So can you let us know how that was? I really liked this point yesterday that we were talking about changing Samskaras, changing habits, and these tendencies. But if we are replacing these old actors with the new ones, the new habits, the new thoughts, make it really quality. So it is clean, and this clean, unmixed, angelic soul that has the power to replace, and not a superficial effort. And I really appreciated these reminders that it has power, but we need to use the right method in the right way. So, see if Prashant is ready. Hello.
Hello and good morning. Thank you for this quick revision and a message from Baba. I don't know if you got English subtitles, but the message was bodiless, experiment with the bodiless stage. And we'll come to this experiment and quickly revise some of our basics. Come to some thoughts leading to the bodiless stage. So I will use the board. And what we revised yesterday also, we said there is a story, there is a theater, there is a drama, and we represent it in this image. And we come in this story. Those who come in this story are the invisible actors. They are the invisible players. They are the invisible souls. For Paras, this is obvious. We give the example. Say Mary is acting in a drama as a camel. We literally take this example. There is a theater, children's drama here within this children's drama, and Mary is coming in this acting as a camel. And Susie is acting as an elephant. And they are there for 10 minutes, and Mary and Susie have got their world beyond. They go back home. If during these 10 minutes, if Mary was to really believe she is the camel, and that 10-minute drama has become their world and completely forgotten their world of parents and their job and Mary and Susie. That is not a small mistake, it's a big mistake. We represent it by crossing the dotted line. And that is the way we discussed in the past. It is like coming into not just ignorance, it is, we use the word, soft word, ignorance, but it is like serious confusion. You cross that line and you are living in the world of camel and elephant. And it is it attachment? It is not just an attachment, it is a serious confusion. Soft words are used, attachment. And in that state, everything is now wrong, which means your idea of progress, your idea of success, your idea of happiness, it is all distorted, psychotic. So when the person comes back to senses, he will regret for what he has done. It is waste of time, waste of life, waste of mind. This is what it is. Now, when we use the word ego, ego is embodiment of this madness. Commonly used word, oh, someone has got ego, this kind of language we use. But ego means you are embodiment, you are living with that. Madness as normal. Ravan just means that. All together we are using these words, Ravan, ego. And our society now is such a society. We have crossed this dotted line. So when we are talking about this invisible player, it is not nice academic in a knowledge. Okay, someone believes that way and someone else practices mindfulness, something else. No, here we are saying that we all are these invisible players. And what a shame that they cross this line and they are into such a serious confusion. And in that confusion, there are sanskaras, and in that confusion, there are, their sanskaras is not a primary, that confusion is primary. And the answer also, you are understanding, answer to all these sanskaras. Yes, which sanskaras we are bothered about? All the sanskaras of Ravan. That is all. Even love from Ravan is a problem. It is not that Ravan's anger you want to become free from. You want to become free from Ravan's love also. Do you want any Ravan to love you? Sing a song from Ravan. In the Iron Age, in the present world, the only love you are getting is Ravan's love. In case anyone has some ideas, some hopes. So this is what is going on here. So it is not just some Ravan's happiness is good. We want to remove this root, Ravan itself. Ravan's happiness also, we want to be free from Ravan's contentment also. And then let us see what remains. So when we remove this Ravan and we come back to this world of the invisible player is just like Mary is happy to be on the stage for 10 minutes. That is not a problem, but we don't want her to be in madness. That is the only thing. So when the invisible player is conscious, he understands he is naturally bodiless. He is immortal. His life is with God. And his life is of happiness and love. In this state, in this paras state, paras is a very important word for us, intellect, paras buddhi, because this intellect makes it natural. The reason we are emphasizing this, at present, the standard intellect is a patthar intellect. And patthar intellect, let me just get this. Patthar intellect is the one that just blocks anything that is alaukic. Day in and day out, you are with the story. Camel, elephant, that is all you got. You can't see anything beyond the story. So it absolutely promotes ego. Patthar intellect promotes Ravan. And even all the institutions, like science institution is 100% Patthar. It sort of doesn't want to go beyond the story, this kind of structure. Whether it is science or politics or religions, religious institutions, they are Patthar. Because society is Patthar. Patthar is the norm. That's why if we want to change the sanskaras, if we want to start, we mentioned yesterday, intellect has to change. The emphasis there. So start with the highest intellect. Game changes very, very quickly. You are seeing things differently. Now there is a hope. At least your understanding is different. You know what is the right way to see things. Until then, you thought that is normal. As an example, our present science says anger is normal. To be selfish is normal. Why? Animals behave like this. If they study 100 people, they all are selfish. So they say that is normal psychology. Someone is selfish, just don't be too much selfish. This is all they can sort of say. If you are too much selfish, then you create problems, or they will give you penalty. But it is normal. In moderation, it's okay. We don't say that way. We say that human beings are divine, which means zero demon. And we don't just say this in a nice theory, concept. We say here is a method. Use this intellect. And when you use this intellect, what happens? You are experiencing now. You are experiencing that you are beyond harm. The story cannot harm you even the slightest. The invisible player is immortal. His world is eternal. He sees it now. It is not some in golden age he will be divine. No, he discovers it now. That he also understands everyone is like this. Everyone is safe. Everyone is beyond harm. And if anyone just holds this expression, you are beyond harm, not the slightest harm. The story, there can be dragons and fires and war and end, but it doesn't harm you even the slightest. Mary realizes that in the story, many things happen. Dragons come, elephant goes, camel also disappears. But Mary knows she's beyond harm. And Mary remains the same. Mary doesn't get into some kind of a panic or anger or sorrow. She enjoys the whole performance. She enjoys elephant and she enjoys the dragon. 100%. If we can see this happening for 10 minutes, same thing happening at another level. If we are paras, we can experience it. If we are patthar, we can't handle such a drama on such a scale. 10 minutes is nice, okay, but drama on such a scale, patthar intellect cannot handle it. You cross the line very quickly. Just one song is enough. Someone sings a song, I love you, you will be out of the ring. So we need paras to protect ourselves. So let us hear some thoughts from you. Just an overview and that helps us understand the context.
There's a few questions actually also from yesterday.
Yeah, we'll take the
questions. One of them. Is it possible for you to clarify how to heal and resolve subconscious triggers we are unaware of, and also those that we are aware of that work against being soul conscious?
Sure. We will take few questions together. We'll come to the subject of subconscious soon.
Okay, the question, the relationship between dreams and the subtle world, that may be a different topic that perhaps we've discussed before. Okay. One question from yesterday, the video that was showed how with I think a hypnosis, we can access the subconscious What prevents us from getting the access at will? And another question, yeah. Do you want another question?
Yeah, so they are largely connected with the subject.
Yeah.
And we'll take those questions. But first, let us create some time for the experience. And our whole idea of meditation becomes easy when we understand we can start with paras. First, second, go for the best intellect, and also remind, since you are using paras, it is like using different glasses, and with these glasses you can see clearly. Give yourself permission to see in 100% clarity. You don't need to go for 90%. The reason is Maya will tell you, because it is too much. Just gradually to go for it gradually. Go for 100%. So if you are doing this, then we see the physical world, entire physical world. That includes this event and Prashant and everything that happened today. It is all part of a story, no different to camel and elephant story. And so there is nothing to complain about, nothing to be obsessed about. It is a story. It may be a fixed script story. It may be a repeating story. But just it's a story. It is not our world. Paras helps us to come beyond the story. All this helps us to see in a very objective way, which means we are avoiding the language of I. When we step behind the story, we are seeing the reality, world of silence. There is no noise of the story. We see this in the image of a sky. Really experience it right now. It expands. With the eye of the mind, we can see this. World of complete stillness. For Paras, this is not a meditation. He sees the home. This is the real world in which there is the true family. And this family, they are in the image of tiny stars, like points. And they all are immortal. All are noble. Noble in personality, noble in character. Noble may implies they are fulfilled. They know they got a best. Certainly not the beggars. They need nothing from anywhere. All are like this. This is the world of the father and the family. Paras can see this. Father who is always Paras, always in truth. And that's why the wisest. Wisest and the highest. This environment, Paras environment, where we are seeing this alokik dimension, this helps the true self to become conscious. Until then, the soul is not even conscious. That's why it is ego-based life. Soul becoming conscious, true self, realizes that he is the invisible prince. He belongs to the King of Kings. Invisible, just a tiny point. He may be imaged like a point, presence. But he knows his complete independence from that story of camel, elephant. This story, the invisible prince understands his independence from the whole physical world. He is aware of his immortality. He is aware that he belongs to this supreme sky. Normal to belong to this sky. Normal to belong to that family. Normal to belong to the supreme friend. That has happened. We used Paras and the game changes completely. The sky suddenly has become real and his family has become real. Father, it has become father and a friend. And the true self, even the concept of the true self, it's a new thing, new self. Old idea of self was based on the ego. It was some false notion of the self based on a story. Now you're discovering the true self. It is a new life. Baba uses the word like a donation of life, like a new birth. It is not a continuation of camel. Camel continues as Mary. Now, camel is separate, Mary is separate. Here, more Mary wakes up. to realize that Mary exists. And all parameters are different. Problems of the camel are not problems of Mary. So also here, the invisible player understands is all parameters are different. He's lucky. His world is eternal and everyone is noble and lovely. And he is beyond harm. Not even the slightest harm can come to him anytime. Nothing in the three worlds can harm him, even the slightest. That's why we use the word prince. Never a victim, never a beggar. As we continue on our journey, we remember the beautiful truth of the soul, beautiful truth of everyone. Thank you. Some of the areas I would like to just to touch these areas. They will help us to understand about the sanskaras also. The sanskaras that we want to address, the main sanskaras, their root is false identities. 100% of the sanskaras we do not like and we want to change. The root is false identities. And what happens with these false identities? They are insecure. Each of them are insecure. So they all play all kinds of games from insecurity. They can have pretense, they can have manipulation, they can be another time angry, they want missiles, but another one is greedy. But the root is identity. And from this identity, they may present as beggar sometimes. In fact, they're hardwired to be a beggar. Forever beggar. You give them what they like, they still want more. It is like a, stubbornly beggar. They are hardwired to be a victim. So the sanskaras coming from that mindset, victim kind of. And what happens with victim? Victims look for dangers. If there is a victim, say a little bird can be sitting here and it turns left, right, it just looks up, down constantly. This seeing if someone wants to eat it. It is a victim looking for dangers. So also ego is in the victim mindset and looking for dangers, which means it gravitates towards the negative. The whole department of paranoia, its origin is false identity. It sort of can just take over someone's life. Sometimes the institution also. Governments can be so paranoid that it paralyzes them. But at an individual level, within us, the individual, the false identity looks for the negative. So it ends up into this negative thinking, ignores the positive, goes into the negative. There was one friend in neighbor nearby. Our sister, she used to ask her, "How are you?" And her friend, she would always answer, "Awful, terrible." This is her answer. How are you? Anytime, how are you? Terrible, awful. This is the answer she would give. So this friend did the positive thinking course with at the inner space. And then after that, whenever she was asked, "How are you?" her answer was, "Trying to be positive." But that is the attitude of the false identities anyway. Whatever they answer, attitude is they gravitate to the negative. The false identity is hardwired to be dependent. So it becomes a slave in any relation, latches on to something, makes something else the master. What else? It has got a programming of an orphan. It has got no roots. It is what will happen to me. So it is no home for the false identity. For the soul, there is a home. And this, the ego is ultimately demonic anyway. So demon deals with sorrow, taking sorrow, but also ready to give sorrow also in its own way, sometimes with words or something. These are the sanskaras we do not like, connected with beggar, victim, slave, demon, orphan. We saw just now in our discussion, Mary is completely different to camel. Problems of the camel are not problems of Mary. If I still feel there is something I have to solve there, or it becomes an issue for you, it means you have not really come into the soul consciousness. You are mixing. Ego and Maya wants you to mix in your efforts, which means even if you are creating 1 minute, if it is mixed, it is not soul consciousness. This attention has to be paid. That's why this language, objective language, where you start from the sky and you are seeing Mary is waking up. Mary was unconscious. Mary is waking up. You are not gradually moving from the story to the real world and taking camel with you. That is not the intention. You are not trying to make the camel spiritual. That is not the intention. Our intention is to start clean. If we want to, change the sanskaras, we have to. Yesterday's great emphasis that we placed, program of 1 minute. Let us start in a new way. So when you are doing this program of 1 minute, what happens is you are seeing that 1 minute, you are seeing the invisible prince. He is not going to become prince in golden age. Now he's still a beggar. No, he is a prince now. Not just the words. We are saying prince because he has got the best. Father sees him as with a vision of equality. And the camel is a separate thing. Prince is a separate thing. Okay, camel and a drama, there can still be mistakes going on and there can be whatever is happening. But during this practice, you are seeing the prince independently, clean, worthy to be loved by God, and worthy to have the company of God. See the invisible prince fully. During this minute, You want to add anything? Say anything? Connected with the subject of today, maybe to start with.
Yeah. So I think as you covered yesterday, so are there memories of our past lives in our subconscious? I think you mentioned that everything is recorded.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Connected with today's subject, that may be, and then we will take up the other questions also. So here we are emphasizing that if you start with the prince, during these minutes, there will be zero beggar, zero victim, never a victim. Mary enjoys the dragon and camel. It doesn't say I'm a victim. In the same way, here, this minute, the invisible player, he feels he's never a victim. There can be things going on in the drama that are, bit, hustle. There can be problems. There can be something here is going wrong, but it is not a problem of the prince. Prince is 100% carefree now at the same time. 100%. Just as Mary is free from the problems of the camel and dragon, and whole thing is going to come to an end, and Mary is completely carefree. In the same way, when we are using Paris and when we are coming to this true self as woken up, then the experience will be 100% carefree, free from the thoughts about. You're seeing the story as story, and story is fun, and story is a gift. Everything that happened, it is a joke. The perspective of the prince will be like this. Stunts. Someone is acting as the enemy, someone is acting as something else. These are all stunts. And it can happen in the Brahmin family also. Understand, these are stunts. The true self never has grudges of any kind. He never goes into inauspicious feelings. Why not? Because he is beyond harm. He knows that everyone is immensely lovely and loving. Everyone, forever. His reality is different reality. That's what he says. And all are loved by God. All need to know who they are. There's a nice expression in the spiritual writings. All are holy. In holiness soon shall refashion their lives. So this is the vision of Baba, and this is our vision. And all are princes. They are invisible princes. And they need to discover that they are princes. All are divine royals. And these are not superficial words. You are meaning it. Divine beings, Ravan free. This is the starting position of everyone. And they will discover it. And they are royals. They are not beggars. They are noble. This is the truth you are seeing in others, and this is what the true prince discovers. I'm emphasizing now. It is not future. It's discovering it now. And you are playing a completely different game. You start with the different samskaras. The process is this. Yesterday some questions that came. I am seeing someone with good sanskaras, good virtues. No, that is, you are still seeing camel. You are seeing camel, with a nice camel. In this game, you are waking up to the reality beyond the camel and elephant. Clean, just for 1 minute, come to that clean perspective that everyone is completely different to camel and elephant and dragon. They all are lovely, loving, and lucky. And when you say they, you are seeing the alakik family. Now I want to come to the subject of the different vices. Because of time, let me cover this and then come to the questions. Vices. Let us just take these 5 vices. So there is sanskar, let us say sanskar of greed in some form, that it will present in different ways. The sanskar of greed, so you want more, this kind of thing. And why are you needing it? Because what might happen tomorrow? So I want more. And what might happen to the children? So I want more. One person, literally a billionaire or multi-billion, something like that, in that, and he lost some part of his money in some shares dropped somewhere, and so he was stressed. And whilst talking to him, he was sort of thinking how to deal with. One expression he used, we want to survive. That's what he used. I want to survive. And that surprised me a little bit, but also didn't surprise me. Because bottom line, for each and every ego, he wants to survive. So regardless of how much you have, you feel you need to have more. Because ego is forever insecure. And so he may have many billions more, but he lost some billions. That is his what might happen. I might die one day, and this element will be there in you, in me, in some form. It may present in the form of eating more than what you need, or taking more. The one child, some, with parents, some children come and some biscuits were kept on the plate, and there are enough biscuits for everyone. But this particular boy would bite few biscuits, 2-3 biscuits, and still keep them there, and then take one biscuit, because now that he has touched these 2-3 biscuits, no one else will touch those biscuits. They are his. Just sanskaras presenting in different ways. The adults, children, it is the same. It will come with food. It will come with, so in some form. How do you deal with it? How do you genuinely address it? At that time, for 1 minute, come behind. This is our method. Use the best intellect. Step behind the camel and elephant world and see what you got. And realize that here is an eternal prince who has got the most refined treasures, which means he's immortal to start with. He doesn't need those biscuits. He doesn't need billions. He's immortal. He will survive. And he has got already the region of love and happiness and contentment. The contentment is already there. There is a region of peace and family. He got it all. So now he comes here. He comes as a prince. Let this sanskar of the invisible prince be addressed. When this you are noticing this sanskar of beggar, of a greed is coming, address it. Antidote for that is see the fullness that you got. Another time, sanskar will come of lust. In some form, maybe in a minor form, big form. What is the antidote for love? For love, the antidote is love. For lust, antidote is love. So come behind the camel and elephant world. See the family of souls. And in this case, if there is some situation, say you are dealing with some individual and there is a lust feelings there, come behind, see the soul, see the soul who is lovely, loving, and worthy of love. And you love the soul. See the independent, not the soul, and you are, say, thinking of the camel or elephant, but see the soul independent of the role. And you wish the best for the soul. You want the soul to discover their greatness and their immortality and their worthiness, their holiness. You want to wish best. You love the soul. And all of that is good. It is positive. And even for 10 seconds, you are addressing that love and love for the soul. That has power to neutralize the perverted feelings that can come. All of these vices are just perversion. Ravan's perversion. You give it an antidote of original feelings. Each of this, whether it is attachment, attachment, we are becoming dependent on things within the camel and elephant world. English word attachment just means becoming dependent. Understand it that way. We want love, but we don't want dependency. So here you are happy to be dependent on the true home and the true father and truth. It is eternally yours. Take support from there rather than take support from something that is, story. It is there today. It is changing in front of you. At that time itself, come back, step back, and create just 1 minute, and you will be able to bring in this new sanskar. All habits and sanskars and tendencies start somewhere. They don't just come from the sky, they start somewhere. Good sanskars, bad sanskars. So here we have to introduce the beginning of a new sanskar. Sometimes you might notice, even though we are Brahmins for some time, even right yesterday, today, I am observing some areas I have to introduce the new sanskars. New way of seeing things, new way of doing things. I'm observing it in myself, because it has not even started. The transformation has to, new sanskars need to start. No point in just fighting with the Ravan's sanskar in darkness. Ravan is having something and you are saying this is wrong, you are fighting it in darkness. Come behind into light and think of the antidote, new way of seeing things. And that will grow. Once the habit starts, then it will be, second time it will become easier. You'll start playing with it. Yeah, you want to add anything? Say anything?
This subject, it feels really helpful with the vices. There are not the guilty feelings or aversion that can come from the habit of bhakti. that perhaps are there when there isn't a replacement, and the holier Ravan is trying to manage it. When we've actually got an antidote, it's like an active process. There's no need to go into aversion or denial or repression or guilt, but you are using energy to go for the pure, original, uncorrupted. So it feels very, it's a very way for the self-respect, I think. Someone's just typed, is obesity based on greed? Samskaras, I think so. Yeah.
Yes, sometimes maybe in the past lives, because some are not greedy in this life, but just something comes. And there may be some reason, not in this life, but past.
Someone did type earlier that during difficult situations, at that moment, it can be difficult to see the invisible prints, but I think this discussion has helped.
Just want to emphasize, touch that. This is a good comment. You know, what happens, even in psychology, they say, when you are trying to address this subconscious, they say there is a resistance. Then, you know, and what you say is absolutely right. At that time, to think of the prince, there will be resistance. And resistance will come from the false identity. False identity, want to go there and cry or get angry, or, you know, that is what its life is. It keeps it alive, you know, maybe greedy. And at that time, even for 1 minute, you are saying we are shifting things. Yesterday we said, no, there are bullies. Those bullies, they don't want you to come and use the mind. Bullies, they are going to give the resistance. But you are using the intellect. Director has the power to choose who is going to be on the stage at what time. Director has full power. So use your intellect, use your determination, use discrimination for 1 minute. You know, that step has to be taken. For 1 minute, you bring in a completely new perspective. See that it is clean. This is what we are emphasizing. You know, otherwise Brahmin language continues in a mixed way. You know, you use all soul, baba, mera baba, but you are all in the camel world. Here you have to come out of the camel world 100%. In a unmixed quality 1 minute, and then you are putting a foundation of the right sanskar.
There's a question that came yesterday from the Chinese group. If we're in the company of someone that triggers us, maybe repetitive conversation statements, it could be from elderly parent, for example, what actions or knowledge should I take to remove the feelings, negative feelings or intolerance that I experienced from that? And then a similar question, could you throw light on how we approach a situation we are faced with triggers that cause sorrow or emotional disturbance as a result of what you already have as a reaction or feeling?
Yes, sure. One thing we mentioned in our discussion today is the huge emphasis on the homework, where the invisible prince, his greatness is experienced, and his richness is experienced, and his is lucky that is experience. Not the future, but the eternal and so present. He feels he is lucky. He feels he is safe. He feels he is loved, and that is a world of perfection. This is like this has to be nourished. So this is one part of the picture. The reason I'm emphasizing this, our all our sanskars that we do not like, as we were mentioning here, they are these sanskars of false identities. And the answer to it is to come out of these false identities into the true identity. That is where the answer is. And that stepping back has to become strong. So this homework of just practicing clean soul. When we are using the word prince, and let's see that it is not mixed with camel. We are not trying to make the camel spiritual. That is also possible. As a Brahmin, we might sort of move along and others say, oh, you are doing so good. And someone praises you, your virtues and your drishti. And then the ego says, yes, I'm nice camel. My drishti is so powerful. So many people get so many experiences. Me, nice camel, holy camel. So it will go around with semi-closed eyes. That is very possible. And then sanskaras are not going to change because it is still in the false identity. We need to nourish the higher being, which is completely separate. We give this example. Mary is different. Praise of camel doesn't apply to Mary at all. Praise of camel is camel. Mary is separate. Mary has her own self-respect. So also here, the invisible player is 100% separate. Most of the time, it is mixed. But during these minutes, let us get it clean. So we start the sanskar on a very strong foundation. And as we said, most of the time it is mixed. It is mixed in me. Right now, someone says or something, you are already, straight away ego will say, yes, me, I'm so good, this kind of thing. But that's fine. We can't stop that. But let us create 1 minute where you are at least starting the new beginning. During this minute, you are seeing that invisible soul is independent from the story, and Prashant is part of that story, just like camel and elephant. And see it as small. It is like a whole thing is going to disappear. Prashant and everything around is going to disappear. And you are seeing the wonderful reality of the family of souls and the Father. And create those minutes where that soul awareness is nourished. Then there is an answer. If we have crossed the line at a false level of identity, there is not a real answer. The old reactions will take over.
Thank you. It's like so helpful to have this repeated. I think we'd have a whole retreat on the unmixed aspect. There are some other questions. Don't know if you want to take them now.
Yeah.
It's one comment here. Is it right that Maya will also come as in the form when we are going for 100%. That's when Maya will be fully resistant. Is that right?
Maya is there all along. Maya will just like if you are playing a game, then there is opposition. They try to see which is a weakness and how to trick you. That is what the game is. So Maya is accompanying all along in different form. Maya will test and trick. So it is there now and it will be there until the end.
Is there any benefit in revisiting our past at all, mentally or through like memorabilia?
No, it is not our past. It is a story, and a story. So many things have happened in the story. And to go into that story, I need another 5,000 years. So now the priority is to step beyond the story. That is a priority. And the priority is not to understand what camel did and what elephant did, why it did. To discover Mary, that is the priority. And then the parents of Mary, their presence helps to Mary to come out of this delusion. That's a priority. Whoever is out of this, like in our case, Baba knows what is happening. He is the only one who is always out of this. Bap and Dada, they are out of this delusion. So that is a priority for us, to see how we can catch hold of them. Thought is a nice way we put ourselves in that direction. That's why when you remember you are going in that direction, and that is a help. To go into the details, whether it is hypnosis or thinking about the past, that is not useful in this journey, in this process.
The key from what you were saying is not my story, it's a story. As you mentioned, camel, it helps very much. You don't want to think about camel 5,000 year story. Probably it's been touched on, but what would be the best approach to handle actors from the past that jump into the forefront uncalled for?
The actors by these drama actors we are talking of.
Not sure, maybe
Samskaras.
Maybe
it is drama actors, some jokers, thoughts, talking about thoughts. Yes, we are introducing new thoughts. We are introducing new actors, and others will try to come. That is part of the game. That there are bullies. They want to jump on the stage. So here you are creating these minutes and minutes where you are empowering the positive thoughts. And in this case, our most positive is empowering the invisible prince.
Perhaps in connection with this question, how do we identify the bad or unhelpful actors' thoughts?
Good, very, very good question. We don't use the word bad ordinarily. Our whole criteria is, are we in truth or are we in ignorance? This is, we mentioned earlier, Once we are in ignorance, Ravan takes over. And Ravan can be talking lots of sweet things, and Ravan can be singing songs of love and happiness, and all this is going on. But we see it as demonic. Why it is demonic? Because it is in ignorance. It also means, and down the line, there will be sorrow. There will be messy situation down the line. That's why come out of that ignorance first. And when you are out of ignorance, you are useful to everyone. When you are. So when we are using the language invisible prince, prince is a nice word, but we are really talking about one who is 100% in clarity. And the truth is beautiful. Once you are in this truth, you discover your immortality, you discover your life with God, you discover your nature. So just the soul, each and every soul is divine. You are discovering this, and you discover you don't need all this begging that is going on. You don't need any of these things. So the word is truth for us rather than good and bad.
I think that's helpful. Probably it came from yesterday with the good guys and bad guys, but that was more illustrative in the model. So that's useful. Just on a technical note from this, since it was mentioned yesterday here, Samskaras are tendencies, how to distinguish it from habits, as both seem to be the same. That is, daily tendencies become a habit.
Yeah, like a habit is used in a superficial way. Like I may have a habit of, scratching my head. I might not use the word sanskara for that. Sanskara has got deeper roots, like the ego. These are the roots, and the habit can be very superficial. Yeah, but as we said, different people may be using it differently. The tendencies are deeper in the roots.
Different question here. Is it difficult to work in science if you have Paris intellect?
Difficult to work? No, we need science to become Paris. So more anyone is Paris, you will be useful. You will divinize whatever institution you are in.
Happy to hear any follow-up on that. So it could be a good time to take a pause, unless Shantz wants to add anything.
No, that is good. And then,
do you have a question that might be nice to bring?
has anyone got any false identities? And how do you prevent mixing your practices? How not to cross the line? This is a big, another question maybe.
Okay, that's good. That's in the chat. So Heather will be opening up rooms now, and you'll be able to change the room if you need. And there's a help button, and we'll see you soon, 10-15 minutes. And just giving everyone space to share, that would be great. Thank you. See you shortly. Om Shanti. Let's create some time together for 1 minute before we continue. Some silent reflection. Thanks. Thank you. If you feel like sharing, we'd love to hear how you are languaging this process of getting to the root. I like this thing about identity, and when it was mentioned, the example of the person who had billions and then lost billions, and for that identity, it was like ego death or ego knock. And for him, for that identity, he was looking to survive. And how absurd that word could even come. Someone is still left with the billions, but for that identity, you can understand. And so it's like this shift to get to the root of the true identity of the soul, who has never crossed the line of, when conscious, he's not crossing the line. He is so safe, he is so full, he's having the same feelings as the Father, and approach to this world is the same. This getting to the root of the issue of these unhelpful, inauspicious thoughts, understanding it and replacing it with that the smriti, the accurate awareness. Really enjoyed this exploration, but it would be great to hear what came up and what came up in your discussion. How not to cross the line. I think as well, another highlight for me was just finding how it was said, I think start with the different samskaras. Like, we're not trying to improve the body conscious samskaras, but start there. It's one thought on this. Thank you. Welcome back, Prashant and everyone.
Hello, and welcome back. Now, in some areas I might underline today is keeping the purity of soul consciousness. As was said, it is not, don't take it for granted because you are using the language soul, and you may be using the language of invisible traveler. It is necessarily clean. Language may be there, but internally check that it is not mixed with the camel and elephant. In other words, you are not mixing it with the role, like Prashant, in your case, the role. And can be a sweet feeling also that everything is going well and you are sort of feeling peace. You think it is soul conscious peace. It is not. It is still mixed and it is a piece of the ego. When you are in that uh, clean soul awareness, one expression, use this to check independence from the story. Invisible player is independent. He feels he's completely separate from the entire story. It is slippery. Brahma Baba uses the word, it is slippery in 1960s. So we shouldn't give ourselves the certificate that I am soul conscious for 8 hours, this kind of thing. It is not. It will be mixed. And when it is mixed, it is not soul consciousness. But even for 1 minute, bring the quality. I might emphasize this to everyone to check, because we can be otherwise starting itself with the mixed positioning, and then you get mixed results. When it is clean soul, at least you know the starting position, where to build and where to continue to grow. Other area I want to underline again, how to transform this energy of vices. There is different things, full speed, all these vices. It is all starting with the pure, it has its original state, just given a wrong direction, in ignorance. And so we have the option to bring it to the original, and you discover sweetness within it. It doesn't appear you are fighting with it. You feel you're fully satisfied deep inside. You feel you got everything. You are not suppressing, or you don't feel the energy of Rajopradhan energy of battling with your weaknesses. But you feel internally there is peace, and externally there is freedom. Whichever area you feel that it is missing, experiment with it. This is like a nice experiment, because you discover it will come in different form. It is not that 5 vices, but each of these vices, greed will present in new ways. If it is not with possessions, it will be with food, it will be with some other things, attachments, or each of these new area will come. And in those situations, apply the antidote. You are coming to the in light. You are seeing the situation in light, and when you are seeing the situation in light, you are seeing its pure version. And pure version is, you have no problem with it. It is good. And I know there are a few questions, but intention was, let us create another few minutes of attention, and then we come to the questions. And in this time, our first step is the best sight, best light, best intellect. And we are seeing the way God sees. We are seeing, to start with, the physical world as very small insignificance. Story cannot be very significant. Nothing major happening there. No one dies, no one is born in a story. just as that camel and elephant. Nothing is serious. That is why you can put a full stop to it. That's why you are able to go beyond it. Ego will not use that language. For ego, everything is serious and it matters. Even some petty things become so big for ego. So the moment you are able to put a full stop and go beyond, you are discovering an eternal Paristan. Golden Age Paristan is one, and this is eternal Paristan. World of disbelief. Because you are seeing the perfection of everyone in life with God, world of immortality, and invisible soul himself notices that things are okay. He needs nothing and he is safe, he is immortal, loved by God, and worthiness to be loved by God. And these relationships are eternal. No one can change it. Nothing can change. No one can deprive anyone of anything. Such is this reality. That's why the invisible player can be truly relaxed and truly carefree forever. He is not saying I'm relaxed today because I'm in the castle today. I don't know tomorrow. No, this reality is forever. But he has the option to cross the line. That option is there. He is a prince. He is an eternal prince. But there's an option to be the beggar. That option is there. Option to get confused. That option is there. Truth is beautiful and truth is eternal. And Maya is just promoting that option. Option to become a beggar, that is there. Maya is very keen to make everyone into beggars. And the duty of the Shakti army is to make everyone into angelic princes. And the duty of the father and the family is this. Yes, our weapon is light. Stay in light and experience this light. We fight battle with this Maya in light. We don't go in darkness and fight, but deal with Maya from the position of strength. And this is a principle. That's why we check. Whenever you want to deal with something, checking is, am I in full light? And that option is there, just like option of becoming a beggar is there. Option of ignorance is there. Darkness. We are reminding we have the option of full light. See it in full clarity. And more we do this, this is what is changing the subconscious. The best subconscious, if anyone wants, means Samskaras that are based upon full clarity. We are using the words divine royals. God-like sanskaras. Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to let us hear the comments and questions.
Thank you. You kind of touched on it at the end of this commentary. The question from the Italian group: can some sanskaras also help us connect better with God? You mentioned this being is God-like, so that would be one would resonate with God. Any thoughts on this question?
Yes, and that's not like in bhakti. In bhakti, there are lots of different sanskaras of bhakti, but they are yearning for God. They want to meet God, but it is body consciousness is a block to meeting God. God can be right in front, but body consciousness becomes a block. That is why our first emphasis is come out of that body consciousness. Let the invisible prince wake up, and then there is a worthiness to be loved by God, to be with God. God is, as we mentioned, this relationship is eternal. If there is anything that prevents this experience, is unworthiness of the ego. On one hand, he wants to meet God, but ego has unworthiness.
Yeah, interesting. Italian group would like to share any further thoughts, feel free. A question about a difficult situation, perhaps with a parent who's supposed to be a loved one, but is trying to get them to do something with a bit of a brainwashing tactic that the person doesn't want to do. How not to step away from the situation or withdraw. Any comments on managing these kind of drama scenes?
Yeah, a variety of situations in this drama. As was mentioned, first we need to see the drama as a drama. Drama within the drama. Sometimes you have to watch this, understand the funny side of the whole thing. In Iron Age, you will get Iron Age plots. You will not get Golden Age plots in the Iron Age. But they are jokes. When you understand everyone is good and everything is good behind this story, everyone is good, everything is good, then you can be light about things. You act whatever you feel appropriate, you act, but bottom line is to remain light.
Following on from that question, do you have an example of something like this remaining light, an example of involved detachment? Because in the everyday life, when we're managing with those without knowledge, they misunderstand, or it can be misunderstood, detachment as indifference. So do you have any examples of this that might help us to grapple with it?
Even if it can be anyone with knowledge, without knowledge, they might interpret in many different ways. It is not an issue. That is also drama. Even with your best intention, someone interprets as goes left, someone goes right. That is also drama. not to get too much caught into how they are interpreting, what they are thinking, why your heart is right, clean, your intention is right. You keep flying, and then others fly.
That's a good point. Someone with knowledge or without, things can go in a funny way. But yeah, taking intention, that's helpful. A slightly different question, but would someone who hadn't performed negative karma need to reincarnate? Because isn't the main reason to reincarnate the karmic settlement?
Not necessarily. In golden age we reincarnate. That is the way the drama is. Say Mary is going in the drama acting as camel, and next part for Mary may be to act as a rabbit. Next day she's playing the part of the rabbit, not to settle the karma. That is not a reason. That is the next part for her to act as a rabbit. But if there are karma created, they are settled. Sometimes karma are not created, and but part continues.
Yeah, I think underneath perhaps is this, perhaps a feeling that coming here, it's like crossing the line or something, but coming here is not wrong. So actually there aren't really any questions, except there was a comment, Einstein seemed to have a Paris intellect.
Not Paris is much more than what any scientist speak about, because to limit yourselves at a physical level, that is pattar, to limit yourselves. And if you very clearly understand that there is we are from beyond the story. That's a big jump. And ordinarily, there are not many people in the science world who make that statement, that we ourselves are from beyond. So some may allude to this. There are, we often mention, Professor Eccles, who say, soul uses the brain. That is all. That is the maximum statement. And some might have done research on reincarnation, say that there is a soul that exists, there is a reincarnation. But they do not say the soul have the reality behind, there is a world and there is a family and we are coming here in a story. That understanding is not there in the science world. So then it becomes pattar still. Paras is a big jump out of the pattar. For Paras, necessarily, this physical world is a story. That is not the main. For pattar, that physical world is the main. It's the main reality. And they may even have concepts of God and concept of the home even. But for them, this world is the main one. Then it makes it pattar. Pattar with some philosophical concepts.
Thank you. And yeah, I think that may be all the questions. Do you want to share anything to kind of summarize, or like kind of hobby homework? And after that, we'll finish with some announcements and drill.
I would like to hear of your a success story. I might like to encourage, we all, including me, I was mentioning, I myself notice where I can apply this principle of 1 minute and introduce the new sanskar, observe some of the area we all have to deal with and how to change these some sanskars, and think of your plan, what you are going to do, for 1 minute, and each time certain sanskar is about to come, go back to that sanskar, transform, lokik into alokik, things taking the form in the drama, go behind and bring in the alokik aspect of the situation. And if you are doing it in this way, and the sanskar should change very soon, we would like to hear the success stories. So even by keeping a diary, go for, which sanskars you want to bring about this shift by using this program and gain victory. That homework that we mentioned, the invisible prince, has to be that 1 minute at that level, and minutes to transform sanskars in each of the 5 vices. Make it like that. That your aim is to change, see how it works in each of the 5 vices, at what level. Good luck.
Thank you. I think the chart is quite relevant here to make notes and experiment. I really like the specific approach as well with the devices, and that seemed to create a nice way to begin. I'm just going to put in the chat the recording link, which is for all the languages. You can go into the folder for English, connect you to YouTube link for today and tomorrow, yesterday and today. And also we'll just put in the link for the next retreat, Happiness and Its Friends. And that's in, I think, 3 weeks, end of this month, last weekend of July, at a later time of 6 to 8 UK time. Thanks for sharing your comments and questions, and thanks to the translators and the co-hosting team. And we'll create some time now for connecting with Bapdada and the Joe from Madhavan. Thank you all so much.
fish